Hi, Debbie here with my latest project, and I'm using the paper from Stamperia Winter Tales, and this is a Trifold Folio is what it's called. And this is the front, and as you can see, I am leaving this totally with no embellishments on it. This is just so pretty, this image right here, that I'm not going to cover it up. Now later on I might decide to put something maybe, but as for now I am totally happy just leaving it like this. And then of course you have this spine here, and then this is the back with another pretty paper print, and then this spine here. And like I said, it's trifold, so it's going to open. We're going to open it this way. And on the inside I did make a pocket, and it has 2 tags from the paper. Such pretty paper. And this is pocket. And then over here, this is the undercover, the part that this attaches to. So this is kept totally with nothing on it because you need to keep this flat. And it has magnets in there to hold it shut. And this is just another pretty print from the paper line. And then you open it here. And then in the middle we have this pocket. And that has a large, I guess you can call it a tag. It's just one, I just cut out a piece of the paper to fit inside the pocket here. And then this is what that, look how pretty this paper is. I just find, it's just so hard for me to cover pretty paper. It really is. And then you flip it over, and then you have this over here. And then here we have a waterfall. And this is a horizontal waterfall. And it's held down with a magnet closure here. And this is one of the chipboard pieces. And I left this totally no pattern paper on this, except for this here. And I like how that is when you cut out the images and you just leave it like that. That's all I've done for these. So everything's going to be plain inside. This is strictly for photos. And you can get 24 photos in this album if you just use the waterfalls. And of course you'll get more in if you put pictures elsewhere. But if you just use the waterfalls, you'll get 24 pictures in. Because see, you could actually put a picture here too. And then that closes with the magnet. Then I got it stuck on my, here we go, stuck on the table. And then on this one, we have a portrait waterfall. So this one goes the other way. And that's also held down with the magnet. And this is another one that I cut the paper to use the whole image, and then I left all these, like the other ones, totally without pattern paper. And of course you can stick another picture here, and then it goes like that, and then it just closes with the magnet. So you get 2 different types of photos. You can do the horizontal ones or the vertical, and that's how this is. So that just closes with the pocket, then it closes over this way, and then it closes over that way with the magnet. Now I did do a tutorial on how to make the album itself, but none of the none of me putting the pattern paper on. That I didn't film when I was doing that. But if you want to see the tutorial on there, you can just keep watching, and it'll be added to the back of this. So, yep, so this is my trifold folio. If you have any questions, just ask in the, just ask in your comments. I'm thinking about maybe selling this, so if you're interested, I'll have my email address in the description box below. So I want to thank you for watching so far, and just continue watching if you want to see the tutorial. Okay, well the first thing we're going to need to do is cut our chipboard. And we are going to need 3 pieces that are 7.5 by 7.5. And this is medium weight chipboard. And then you're going to need 2 pieces that are 1.25 by 7.5. And that's going to be the chipboard. And then you're going to need to get your cardstock for wrapping the chipboard. And whatever, cardstock you're going to use. I'm using Kraft. And you're going to need to have it measured 9.5 by at least 27 inches long. So I just have some 12 by 12 that I cut down to 9.5, And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to attach my pieces together, and I'm going to be using double-sided tape. You can use double-sided tape, you can use glue, whatever you like to use for your adhesive. And then I'm going to attach my pieces together until it's 27 inches long. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is what it looks like. There's no way I'm going to get all this on the screen, but it's all my 3 pieces are put together. So it's 9.5 by at least 27. And the reason I'm saying 27 is because I want a 1-inch border around the chipboard when we wrap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a ruler, I use this as a guide, and I am going to mark 1 inch from the edge here, and then 1 inch all along the bottom, so that just keeps me even. So I will just take my ruler, and I will just, with this ruler, I can just bring it up and just measure 1 inch. I'll just line it up to the bottom. And make sure it's 1 inch. And then I will just make a line. And then I will go all the way to the end. And then on this side, on my beginning side, I'm going to want to have at least 1 inch over from the outside too. Make sure it's 1 inch. And this just keeps me lined up. And then I'm just going to make a line 1 inch. And this is where I'm going to start placing my chipboard. So I'll be lined up right like that. And that will be my first piece. Now I'm going to be putting my chipboard down with wet adhesive. And you can, like I said, you can use whatever adhesive you like. And so I'm going to go ahead and place this first one down. I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll show you how I'm going to do my spacing when I get to the next piece. Okay, the second piece we're going to attach are one of these 1 1/4 by 7.5 pieces, and we are going to need to have a spacer here. You can either take an extra piece of chipboard and place it up against the piece we just attached here. We're just butt it up against there, and then just attach this to it. I know my hands are in the way to show you, so that you have a little space here. You need to have a space so that when you go to fold your paper, it won't rip. Now I have these little spacers that I'm going to use. I just bought these spacers, and I'm going to just be placing those in mine. But if you don't have a spacer, just use a piece of chipboard that is the same thickness as the one you're using for your album. And I am just going to place this here. So this is going to be my spacer. I'm going to place some, I'm using just wet glue for mine. And I'm going to place wet glue on this. And I actually use 2 types of glue. I use the Fabri-Tac in the middle, then I'm going to use the art glitter glue around the edges. And then I'm just going to attach this right in there and just butt it up right against that spacer. Just slide it right into place. And then I have my space. And I have my bone folder, and I'll just burnish that really good there. And then my next piece, I'm going to put my spacer here. And then our next piece is going to be another one of the 7.5 by 7.5. I'm just going to glue that right here. And then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I've got this one on. And the reason I use wet glue is because I need to have wiggle room. I mean, I can go back and forth and try and try. And if I know if I have double-sided tape on here, the time I go to put it on, I'll be off. No matter how many times I practice ahead of time, it never fails. So I just play it safe, and I just use wet glue on areas where I know I need to have a little bit more time. So then I'm going to go to my next piece. Is going to be the other little spine piece. That is 1 1/4 by 7 1/2, and then I'm going to just attach that there, just like that. And now for our last piece is, you should have your third piece that is 7 1/2 by 7 1/2. I'm going to glue that and set that right there. And then I'll show you what. Okay, the next thing after I have all my pieces attached to my cardstock, I'm going to go around the outside edge all the way around with double-sided tape. And after I do that, I am going to try to break in the fibers around the chipboard. I'm just going to bring it up and go around and trying to loosen up all those, because this cardstock that I'm using is really, really stiff. I normally won't use a piece that this thick or this stiff. This is the one I happen to have, and I have the other ones on order, and they're just not here yet. And yeah, so I'm just going to ease it up, just trying to get it used to going over the chipboard. And then after I do that, I'm going to miter my corners, and then I'll come back and show you how I do that. Okay, I've gone around and I've loosened the fibers on the cardstock to go around the chipboard. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to what is called miter the corners, and that is we need to cut off a little bit off the edge of here so we have a really nice finish when we do that. I actually use a little mitering tool like this. I ordered this online a long time ago, and I don't know the name of it, but I did make a copy of this part of it. But this is what it looks like. I guess if you Google mitering tools or whatever. But this is, there is some writing up here, but it's not in English, so I have no idea what it says. But this is what I use to, you know, to space out my pages and use for mitering my corners. So I actually use this to place in here in my corner, like so, and then I just draw a line, and then I just cut with scissors. Now you can, if this was smaller, you can just actually just put this down, and with a blade you can just cut it, but I usually just draw mine in and then cut it with scissors. But you have to leave a little bit of space around this corner here, so that when you do fold this over, oops, I'm sorry, you can't even see what I'm talking about. You have to leave a little space right in here, so that when you do turn your chipboard over, I mean your paper over, your chipboard's not going to show in the corner. Sometimes if you're using like black, and it does happen to show, you're not even going to see it anywhere black on black. But, see, I just wanted to let you know that, so I'm just going to trim these. So that's what I do. I just take these, trying to hold this up and do it on the camera. It's kind of hard for me, and I'm way down here, so you probably can't even see what I'm doing anyway. And I just cut that off, and then you see how I have a little piece of my cardstock showing right there above that corner. So I'm going to do my next 3 corners, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so we got all our corners trimmed, so I am going to remove the double-sided tape on the long side first, and so I'll try to do this on camera. It's kind of hard sometimes because the camera's in my way, the way I have it set up. And this was hard for me to get straight on. I am going to run a bead of wet glue right on top of that chipboard piece. So I'm going to go right in here. I'm going to rub some glue right on the top of that chipboard piece, all the way down. And I know you can't see me, I'm way over here, way over here. There we go, so that's that. And I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm going to push this up. Just go all the way, one end, and then I'm going to come back and go all the way to this end. And then I'm going to burnish it really good. So I'm going to burnish it really good there. I'm going to go all the way to the end. And then I'm going to lift this up, and I am actually going to burnish along the edge here. You'll see how it's going to make it nice and flat, and that just gives this a good finish. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to do that. Okay, so I got that done, and you can see this really nice flat finish here. So I'm going to go ahead and do it on this other long side. Okay, I have both of the long sides down, and before I glue down shorter ends, I need to make sure I push in that corner there on the edges here, because you'll see you'll have a little, just make sure you have that in. So you just need to bring it in with your bone folder, whatever tool you're using, and just bring that in just to cover up that piece of chipboard on the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to glue these down, and then I'll show you what it looks like. And see how we get a really nice finish on our corners here on that. So all four of them are really nicely done. So the next thing we need to do is we just need to work on these little spine pieces to loosen them up a little bit. So very, very carefully, and this is like a slow part of this, is take your bone folder, go in here, and just gently make a crease, and you're just kind of gently try to work it up, just very gently, because if you try to do it too fast, and it also depends on the thickness of your cardstock. If it's really thick, it's going to take a little bit. Thinner cardstock will bend much easier, but this one is thick, so it's going to take a while. And then I need to go to the second one and then ease it up. And I'm just going to keep playing with that until I feel comfortable. And I'm also going to be keeping an eye out for my spine here to make sure I'm okay here. And then I'm going to do the same on this side. I'm going to go in here and try to ease it up. So I'm going to work on that, and then when I get this good, then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so we've got everything, so it's going to close up nicely like that. So we need to cover the inside with paper, and I'm sticking with the craft, and I like a very, very small border around mine. So mine's cut really, really, I think it's, some measurements. I know it's I think it's 9.5 by 7 3/4 is the size that I'm using for this. And I'm going to be placing that like this. And the reason my piece is so long is because I wanted to cover this piece right here. And I didn't have a big long, like a 12-inch piece. I wanted to use some of my scraps. That's why it's, 9.5. If I had a 12-inch, I would have made it 12, but I went ahead and just used my scraps to do that. But I wanted to make sure I had a piece big enough to cover this, because I wanted one full piece to go over that spine, and that's what I'm going to do. But before I put this down, I do want my album to close with magnets. I do want it to close with the magnets here, so I do have magnets on this part already. And what I'm going to do is just find out where the magnets go on here, and then I will cover them up with the cardstock. So let's see if this is, so I'm just going to peel, and I'm using large magnets on this. I got these magnets here that I'm using, and they're just the large ones, because I wanted to make sure this chipboard would close. And I just didn't feel one would be enough. It might have been, but I didn't want to go through all the trouble and put my paper on and everything to find out it wasn't. So I am going to just, whoops, didn't mean to add that much wet glue. I'm going to take some of that wet glue off. That was a little much. Not need quite that much. Okay, now I'm going to close my album exactly how I want it to be. And then I'll squeeze. There we go. Then I'm just pressing down on the magnets. And I'll press on them for a little bit. And hopefully the magnets will go to the other side. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So let me just give that a hold. You gotta see how it's, that's what I want it to do. I want it to hold it closed. So, well, that moved. So let me see if I can. Will they come apart? Yes, they did. Very good. Now I'm going to glue my paper on top of that. And then I'm going to close my album again and hope they close and hope the magnets work. So let me do that. Okay, after I have all my paper, and the next thing I want to do is I want to put a pocket right attached here that's going to flip back and forth. So what you're going to need, or what I did, is I have a piece of paper that is 8.5 by 7.25, and I scored a 1/2 inch on either end of the 7.5 inch side. And then I got another piece that's 7 3/8 by 7.25, and on the 7 3/8 side I scored a 1/2 inch here. So what I'm going to do, since this flap right here is going into the album, right into the second score line here, it's going to be attached like that. That's what's going to let it flip. I'm not going to put any tape on that. So when you put it together, you need to take your second piece. I'm going to flip it this way so I can see what I'm doing. And on your flap, you're going to put it inside like this, up to that score line here, but not over. And you're just going to glue that down. And then you're going to turn it. And then where you have your other flap here, you're going to fold that in. And then you're going to glue it. And then you'll have a little pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, see, this is what it looks like. I just put it together, and then we still have this flap here. That's what gets attached to the book. Now we have to remember, we need to glue the bottom closed. So I'm just going to put run some glue through there, and then close up the bottom. I'm just going to add just a little strip of glue down along the edge there, just to seal off that bottom. And let me do that. And before I attach it to the album, I want to cut out a notch here. So I need to go get my punch, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Okay, I got a 2-inch punch here. You can use whatever punch you want. And I found the center of mine. So I'm just going to go down what I think is a good distance. That looks good. I'm just trying to make it level. Oh, while I'm filming, which can be hard. And we'll just go for it. There we go. And then I just made a little, it'll just make it easier for you to grab things in and out of the pocket. And now all I need to do is add some glue to the outside here. And I'm going to turn the up, and then I'm going to attach it. I'm actually going to attach it right where this seam is on this. I don't know how yours is going to be, but I'm going to do it right on that seam and away from this score line here. So I'll just attach it there, right like when I want it to be, and I'm going to glue it down, and that's where it's going to sit, like that. So let me do that and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so we have it in the album, so it's going to look like that. So now we have ourselves a little pocket to put things in, and this seam right here is going to be covered up with our pattern paper and our waterfall. Now on the inside here, I did want to put a pocket, but before I put my pocket, I am going to want to put my pattern paper down first before I put my pocket. You can do it the other way around. You can do your pocket first and then put your paper in. For the pocket, let me tell you what you're going to need to make your pocket. We have a piece here for the pocket, and I believe it's a 5x7, and it's going to be scored on a 1/2 inch on one side and then a 1/2 inch on the bottom. Then where you have this little piece here, we're going to cut that out. We're just going to cut that little square out here, like so, and kind of like so. And that's going to get folded in. Flip that over, and then we're going to glue that when those come together here. But before we do that, you're going to want to measure up from your fold line 2 inches and make a little mark, and then on the top come over 1 inch and make a little mark. Then we're going to cut from this mark to this mark in our paper trimmer. Okay, I have it glued. Now when you glue it in the back, put the bottom on top of the side panel here, so that you don't ever have to worry about anything getting caught when it's going in and out of there. So this is the pocket that's going to get attached right in here, like so. I'm going to wait to attach mine until after I have my paper on. You can attach yours now if you like, but I'm going to hold off on that for now. So now what we need to do is we need to work on the waterfalls. Okay, for the waterfalls. Now this folio is going to have 2 styles. It's going to have a landscape and it's going to have a portrait. You are going to need to cut 12 pieces of cardstock that are 6.5 by 4.5. And on the 6.5 inch side, you need to score at a 1/2 inch, because we're going to have one going down this way over here, like so. And then one waterfall going this way on this side. So one's going this way and one's coming down that way. So we need to go and cut out your papers and do your score lines and do your scores on the 6.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch. Okay, after you've done all your scoring, you're just going to want to take these and they're just going to want to fold them, and you're just going to want to fold them and burnish all 12. Okay, so to do the waterfall, I am not going to put mine in yet. I'm waiting till I have my pattern paper on here, and I still haven't decided what paper I'm using at this point. But just to give you an idea how the waterfalls are going to work, let me show you. I am going to attach the very first one right at the top of the album, right where my inside paper is that I used to cover the chipboard, right on. Let me move that down, right along that edge there. That's where I'm going to start, and I'm going in between where the 2 papers, where you can measure the distance between this score line and that score line, and do the center like that, because I did do that, but my papers aren't exactly centered, so I'm going to be going more or less by the paper inside my album here. So I'm going to attach the very first one down. I'm just going to put glue right on this edge here, and then I'm going to stick it down like that. going to run the top, and then I'm going to open it once it's glued, and I'm going to take my next one, and see where this is. This is going to have glue on it, but it's going to be folded all the way down, and this fold right here butts up right next to this one you just put in. You're just going to take it in, line it up right next to it, and then you're going to have that one down. Then you're going to lift this one up. You're going to grab your next one. You're going to just put glue on the flap, bring it in, butt it up right up next to it, and then you continue undoing all 6 of these. So that's how it's going to go with the waterfall here. And the waterfall on this side is done the exact same way, except we're going this way. We're going across this way. So you can turn your album. It's going to be hard for me to turn my album with the tripod in the way. And then just do it straight down like that. Or you can do it, you know, sideways. Whichever way works for you. I would have to turn mine, but my tripod's in the way, so I can't really. So I'll do it the exact same way. I will glue that on, lift it up, and where this flap is, I will take my next one, I'll just grab this one, and butt it right up against it. And then I will just keep going all the way down. And that's how we'll do my waterfalls. So this way we have 2 types of waterfalls. We're going to have the landscape in the middle here, and we'll have the portrait on the back cover here. Now with waterfalls, I usually do have some kind of a closure to hold it down. So once you have all these on here, I like to make like a little something to just close that down, just to hold it down. And that's usually done with the magnet. A magnet on the little attachment here, and a magnet on the waterfall. What I would do, which I'm not going to do it now because I don't know if I want to put mine on the outside or the inside. I'm still deciding on that. You're going to want to see whatever size you want as far as the width goes, but you need to make sure that it goes, you know, enough. And then when you get to the bottom here, you're just going to want to score it. Let me use this piece because I don't want to score that one because that one's there. Just make a score line, score it. You're going to want to glue it down. And if you're going to put pattern paper over it, that's when you're going to want to do. You're going to glue this down first, put your pattern paper over it, and then you can put your magnet here, and then a magnet here, and put your pattern paper over that, and you know, put pattern paper over this here too, and then just glue it down like that, and that will hold this down, so that, you know, so they're not flopping all over the way. You don't have to do that. A lot of people, you know, that's not, everybody doesn't do that. A lot of people just leave them just the way they are. That's just, you know, a choice. You know, if that's what you want, if you want to attach them like that. So this is the waterfall folio, and that's basically it. All you need to do at this point is just decide what pattern papers you're going to use and just start adding your papers, because there's a lot of things I need to do first. I like to have my pattern papers already on before I add pockets, and I like pattern papers in the backgrounds before I add my waterfalls. But you don't even have to use pattern paper. You can just leave it craft if you like. So yeah, you can do it. And I gotta, you know, cover up these magnets, and I gotta do, you know, I gotta cover up the whole album. Yeah, really. So this is it. And then you have your little pocket here. So what I need to do now is I just need to decide what papers I'm going to use to finish this. If you have any questions, just ask in the comments. I want to thank all of you for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.